Hi, Mega Moms! Jessica Hensley here, and I have an awesome guest with me today, Whitney Nicely, right?
Yes. Hey,
Yeah.
y'all.
Give us a comment or a like so we know that we are live, because I am trying this in our group today. Okay, I see us. We are live. We're here. So, yay! Okay, awesome. So we can get right to it. Exciting stuff.
Awesome.
So, let me ask you, first of all, are you a New Year's resolution kind of gal?
I am a New Year's resolution kind of gal, but I also start my calendar at my birthday in November. And so I run November to November, but I can play along with everybody else doing January resolutions too. No big deal.
Okay. So what's your big thing that you're trying to accomplish this year? Do you have any?
My word is focus this year. And so I am focusing on one thing at a time. I don't know if it's a woman thing or if it's an agent thing or if it's a control freak thing, or I don't know what my problem is, but I have a tendency to take on a lot of different projects and then they all kind of sort of get halfway done. And, I make money and I do different things, but it's not my full attention. So my word this year is focus. Focus.
So focusing on one thing at a time or one project at a time?
One project at a time, absolutely. And I've got my calendar set up so that I know what we're supposed to be focusing on each week. And I think and hope, if I plan it, it'll get executed better.
Absolutely. Time blocking. And I'm reading the 12-week year right now. I'm going to do my book report next week. And that's what he talks about is, what do you want to accomplish in this 12 weeks? And then you break it down by the week and the day. So, okay, well, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I know some about you, but I don't know that these ladies do.
All right. Hey, y'all. My name is Whitney Nicely, and I am a real estate investor in Tennessee mostly right now, but I also have some properties in Georgia, and this year I'll have some in Florida. So I'm mostly out of the Southeast, and I am the broker for Whitney Buys Houses. I have a tendency to, the thing is I don't do regular real estate, so sometimes I don't promote that I have a license as much as I should because I don't do regular real estate. So I don't work with buyers. I don't work with sellers. I just buy houses myself and I keep that money to myself. So
what made you decide to do that? What was that aha moment?
So I got my license in 2011 and I had 2 listings pretty quick. And the first one was completely textbook. It was perfect. It was beautiful. Everything just marched right along and it was awesome. And the second one I had was completely textbook and it was terrible. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I wanted it to be this nice dream like I had in my first listing. And then I tried another couple different listings and I was terrible at it. I didn't like it. And so I took a step back and I said, wait a second. Do I want to represent other people doing their real estate transactions? Or do I want to be in charge? Do I want to be the control freak that I am deep down inside? Do I want to make this money for myself and not work for other people?
Right.
So I really decided that what I wanted to be was a real estate investor more than a real estate agent. So that's the plan. And that's what I've been doing since December of 2012. I bought my first property and it was a mess. And then in 2013, I bought 3 more properties and they were disasters. And I went broke, absolutely flat broke in 2013. And so in 2014, I had to get started with no money and keep buying houses. And that's when I figured out about lease options and owner financing. And I did 14 deals and made almost $140,000 in my first 9 months once I figured out how to do things differently.
Awesome. Well, okay, so I was going to ask that. So what did you do to research and figure out, even on that first deal, like what was the process?
The very first deal I bought, I was at a real estate auction. So I just like to hang out at real estate auctions. I'm also an auctioneer. So I was there and they were selling properties for like $1,000. And I mean, I got $1,000. Sure, I'll buy something. So I ended up spending $1,200. Not exactly, a big splurge here, but I bought 1.07 acres in a failed subdivision. But what was cool is I was property number 12 that had sold originally. And the first 15, maybe 16 properties that sold originally came with a deeded boat slip. So my property is not on the river, but I have a slip that I can put my name on and say, I've got one of the first 15 properties in here. So it was really cool for $1,200, and I just keep it and I just use it as a little lesson. Eventually I'll sell it. The lady that had lost it, she lost it through foreclosure, and she'd agreed to pay $69,000, and she'd paid on it for a couple years before she lost it to foreclosure. And I picked it up at the auction for $1,200.
But what do you think it's worth now?
About $25,000.
So she just overpaid big time.
Well, every lot in there, the cheapest lot that sold in that subdivision when they originally sold everything was $39,000, and the most expensive lot was $135,000.
Wow!
And most of those people paid cash
because they were going to build. They were
going to build, yeah. And it was a booming subdivision in a booming little town, and the people that paid cash, I mean, they paid $100,000 cash for the same property that I paid $1,200 cash for.
Yeah.
So if I keep it for 10 years and then sell it for 20 or 30 or 40, it'll be fine with me.
Well, I know that you asked the ladies in the group if they had questions.
Yes.
A response. Did you happen to save that thread?
I can pull it up.
Okay. I thought and also, guys, since this is live, feel free to ask questions.
Yeah.
We're going to be live in here for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to hop on over to our mastermind and get a little bit more in depth of how she's doing what she's doing. Let's see. Did you find any questions yet? So you said owner finance. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about owner finance.
So owner financing happens when the property is free and clear. If it's a $100,000 property, but they owe $20,000 in a mortgage, it's not owner financing because it's not free and clear.
Okay.
If they owe $20,000 and it's worth $100,000, you still don't have to cash out that $20,000. You can do a lease option on it. You can do subject to the existing mortgage on it. You can do all sorts of things and basically take over their payments, take over their debt. You don't have to, do anything else to get these deals. Most people really overcomplicate it.
Yeah. So do you hire a lawyer to draw up your agreements? You do it yourself? Go ahead.
I had a attorney give me a couple templates to use so that I can go out. I have a one-page contract, and I can go out on this one-page contract and get anything under contract that I need. And depending on the situation, I've got one for owner financing. I've got a one-pager for a lease option. I've got a one-pager if I'm going to assign the deal.
Okay.
So whatever it's going to be, I've got a one-pager that'll handle it because, what I found, and as regular agents, sometimes we forget this. We walk in with a book of paperwork, right? And that can be intimidating. I mean, think back when you were a new agent, just learning all those contracts and all that stuff. When you went into your first listing appointment, it probably took you a lot longer to get those contracts signed than it does now because you just weren't used to it. But you got to remember that every time you talk to somebody, it's the first time that they've seen it.
Right.
So I try to make everything just as simple as possible from the very beginning so that they can understand it and it can be fun and fast and simple for them because it's the first time they're ever being presented with this. So if you blast through 30 pages, they get a little bit,
yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, Nicole has a question. She wants to know, where do you find the auctions?
Go to Google.
Okay.
And type in real estate auctions near me.
Okay. That's the best.
And or you can go to Yahoo, you can go to Bing, you can go whatever. The thing is, auction.com is a third-party service provider for foreclosures. And it's a big, weird, long process to go through auction.com. So my favorite way to buy at auctions is to find real estate auctioneers near me because there's going to be a mom and pop auctioneer everywhere. I mean, across the country. You can find NAA auctioneers, National Association of Auctioneers, or National Auctioneers Association. And, those guys are talking to sellers in your area. And a lot of auctioneers Some agents feel like auctioneers are competition, but they're not. They're just a different strategy. Sometimes the court orders a property to be auctioned instead of listed. So we should work together with auctioneers, not against auctioneers. Auctions are amazing places to find really sweet deals.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I worked for an auctioneer for 12 years before he passed. He was my broker. Okay. Carissa has a question. She wants to know, do you look at tax foreclosures as well?
I don't like the F word at all, because when you deal with foreclosures, you have to have all that money right up front. And I try to do no money down deals, no money out of my pocket. I like to start making money before I ever have to pay anything out.
Okay.
So I don't deal with the F word.
So when you do your lease options, are you putting money down, or so can you give us any information about maybe the way you're wording that? Like, how do they know? How is it a good deal for the seller too? You know what I mean? Because we want to win-win, I'm sure.
Oh, win-win-win all the way. So if you go for a listing appointment, when do you say you're going to close?
I don't know when I'm going to close. It depends on when they get an offer.
So when I go on an appointment, I say, I'm going to start paying you in 3 months.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people say, all right, great. Where do I sign? Because if 10 agents have come in before me and they all said, I don't know.
Right.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that, because you just don't know. I say 3 months. Can you handle it for 3 months? Can you make this payment for another 3 months?
And so then what you're doing is you're purchasing it with this lease option, and then you get the property ready to rent out. You basically rent it. So, and that's included in your lease agreement with them that, okay, so that they give you permission to, because I can see, I've actually tried to do that one time with an owner who had like 20 properties in a little town. And I was like, okay, you know,
those are the best.
You charge me $250 or whatever, and then I'm going to charge $500 because rent here isn't that much. They're like, no, that's taking more risk. We're not willing to do it. Is it because I was giving them my plan? So maybe just don't give them as much information, you think? Or
people are very selfish. Mm-hmm. Every single one is very selfish. We want to know how this is going to help us. You start talking about how it was going to help you. Nobody cares about you.
Right.
How are you going to help them? They have a problem.
Right.
Solve their problem. And you can tell them what you're going to do, but it doesn't need to be the main point of the conversation. The main point of the conversation needs to be how you can be a problem solver for them.
Right. Okay. Leah has a question too. Let's see. She says, yeah, they usually jack the prices at such a big hassle at auction.com. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I don't like auction.com. I had a client one time, they purchased a home through them, and their wording, something wasn't quite right, and they had to put like $2,500 down for earnest money. And so they bid $25,000, and that's all they wanted to spend was $25,000. Well, after they got the bid, that $2,500 wasn't applied like it is in normal circumstances, and that was a tough lesson for me.
Okay, well, in auctions, that's very regular, because in regular real estate, the commission is built into the purchase price, but in auctions, it's on top of the purchase price. So there's a 10% buyer's premium. There's a 20% buyer's premium, and that goes on top of the purchase price. So that's, one of my sales tactics is when I'm going in to get an auction, I say, if the hammer goes down at 100,000, Mr. Seller, you get 100,000. I get whatever's on top. I put 10% on top. Whereas if I was trying to get an auction, I would say, whereas if you go with an agent, there's going to be 6 or 7% that comes out. So if I get 100,000, then you're back down to 94, 93,000.
Right.
So that is what's different about auctions. But that's also the way that I do my lease options too. So if I get a house, let's say for $100,000, but it's worth $120,000, even with no fixing up. I don't fix up houses. Okay. So much work in flipping and fixing up houses. So if it's worth 120, then their problem is this $800 a month payment and this $100,000 mortgage that they're carrying around. But their biggest problem is that $800 a month payment. So I take over that $800 a month payment in 3 months and don't give them any money, because that's not their problem. They've already moved on. They're not in this house anymore. They're just making payments on an empty property. Mm-hmm. So when I talk to them, I fix their problem. And then I turn around, I put it out on the market for $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month, and the purchase price at $120,000. But I also charge a non-refundable option fee to even be able to move in. It's not first month and security deposit and a pet fee to move into my houses. Oh, no. It's $5 or $10 or $20 or $40,000 to move into one of my houses to get the right to buy the house.
Okay. So you're not leasing the properties, you're selling them.
I do a lease option. I do a sandwich lease option. I buy it with a lease option, a lease with the opportunity to buy the house in a certain amount of time. I usually get 5 or 10 years to buy the house. And then I put it out on the market for a lease option. People pay me to move in. They pay me extra every month. And then they have the right to buy the property in usually a year or two. So I get 5 or 10 years. I get a certain payment, I get a purchase price, and then I put it out in the market for more.
This is interesting. I'm so glad we're talking today because I'm thinking my area, I have lots of property. We have an overabundance of properties, and so it's tough to sell houses here. We have, I would say, like a 9-month supply at least. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm going to be using this. And I'm going to be going to your course. Let's quickly tell them about that, and then we'll have to post the link later. Do you want to tell them what you offer?
I have a course named or called First Deal Done Fast. So a lot of people are just trying to get their first investment deal done, and they want to do it fast. So I help them with that. Or whether it's just your first investment deal without using money, without using banks, without using your credit. Maybe it's just your first deal done fast with Whitney. Okay. However that works. I've got First Deal Done Fast, absolutely. And then I've got another course called Apartment Blitz. So if you're tired of houses and you want to get into apartments or hotels or strip centers or storage units or trailer parks or whatever, I'm coming out with a course called Apartment Blitz. We've already got most of it done now, but that'll be rolling out in the next week.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. We have another question. Allison, she says, with it being a seller's market, why would a seller not sell and get all their money now rather than? So I think, Allison, I just want to quickly say, we're all in such different markets. So, in your market, that's probably the case. And what you want to answer that too, Whitney?
Yeah, I'd love to, because I get this question all the time. Thing is, sellers are thinking about themselves, not about the market. And I'm looking for specific sellers. I'm looking for sellers who are tired of being a landlord. They're tired of tenants and toilets. They've got an empty property or an economically empty property. Maybe their tenants aren't paying, but maybe their tenants are family members, so they can't evict them, Yeah. So they sell to me. You can evict. Get the blame. I'm the bad guy. They end up, evicting the people. But it's because they sold me the house and they can't sell it to me and get their money until the people are out.
Okay.
So I'm looking for tired landlords, people that are tired of those midnight calls, people that are tired of late payments, people that are tired of, all the things that landlords get tired of. Or, some landlords are tired of houses and they want to get into apartments. So they're selling 20 houses.
Right.
And they'd love to take a note on that. Because sellers are looking out for their best interest. They're looking out for their bottom dollar. If they sell 20 houses in a year and they make $1 million and they don't have that set up to go into a 1031 and they get taxed on the capital gains from all those properties, that could severely hurt them.
Right. So there are circumstances in every market that you could find.
There are sellers that are dying to owner finance properties because they want the monthly income without the headaches.
Right. Okay.
A lot of sellers also are people that have inherited a property and they don't know how to manage it. They don't want to deal with it. Maybe the property's back in their hometown and they live 3 hours away now and they just don't want to deal with it. They just want to dump the property.
Right.
But again, they don't want to pay a big tax hit on this, so they'll take payments over it. A lot of older sellers, the greatest generation that owns most of the properties, their kids may be crackheads. Mm-hmm. And they want the money to go straight to their grandkids in a trust fund. Mm-hmm. So instead of doing that, we could set up the payments to go straight to a bank account so that when the kid turns 18, then they have this income coming in, or they have this money coming in, but it's controlled through a trust. Everybody doesn't want cash.
Right.
The purchase price is not the only thing that people are concerned about. Now,
Right.
and I get it. Most of the market, most of the sellers, they just want cash. They don't want to talk about anything unusual or creative or whatever. I get it. But there are, I think, almost 25% of the houses in America are free and clear. And that's going to vary on your market. But that's a huge opportunity for you to get in with some established investors and pick up the properties that they don't want anymore.
Right.
And another thing too, usually when we talk about the hot sellers market, we're talking about trendy, cute, neighborhoods that we would probably all like to live in, right?
Right.
I don't buy that. That's not what I buy. I buy houses on the outskirts of town, 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away, in a nice working community with good schools and good people, but they don't want to be in these yuppie communities. They want to be out there kind of on their own. They want to be, close to mom. Some of them want to be further away from mom. It just depends on everybody's personality and what's going on. And, another good group of sellers to talk to are divorced people, because what happens when you get divorced? After you get divorced, what happens? You fall in love and get married again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
Well, when you do that, one or both of you has a house, and guess who's not moving into the ex's house?
Right.
All right. So great. So what happens if you owe what the house is worth and, you spent all your money on this big fancy wedding, and now you don't have the money to pay an agent to put it on the market for you? Well, I'll just take over your debt. No problem. And you can go on and live a nice, happy life with your new spouse and never worry about this house again.
How do you do that whenever there is a loan?
That's when the lease options or the lease purchase or the creative financing comes into play.
Okay. And
absolutely.
Maybe we can get more in depth. Let's see, it's 11:30. Okay, I think that's all we have time for in this group. So I know it was so quick, but I hope you guys will check out what she has to offer. I think this is really interesting and a good fit for a lot of real estate mamas that maybe their schedule doesn't allow for the traditional real estate. Yeah.
When we talk about traditional real estate, think about it like this too. When you go on a listing appointment, how many opportunities do you give the seller to work with you?
Several. I mean.
Well, you're basically going for a listing though.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, one option. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So when I go in, if I have an appointment, I'm giving them 4 options. On every appointment I go on, I give them the listing. I could list this house and I could get you, whatever it is that you want for it. And who knows when I'll sell it, but I'll do my best. Right? Or I'll give you a cash offer for it today, which is going to be the exact same cash offer that every other investor in town is using, because we're all using the same formula.
You'll have to tell us that formula.
Or I'll give you a third option, which is I'll take over your payments. Be 3 months. You got to make the payments, and I'll give you what you owe on the house, but it's going to take me about 5 years to pay you off. Or I'll give you what you owe, and I'll give you $1,000, and I'll take over your payments in 3 months, but it's going to take me about 10 years to pay off. So every time I go on an appointment, I don't have one trick, okay? If you call a contractor to your house and he just shows up with a hammer, he shows up with a full tool belt, now we got somebody we can work with. And that's what I want agents to do, is just to realize that you can list houses and you can make $1 million listing houses. But some people don't want to list houses until they die.
Right.
They want to invest. They want to buy houses. They want monthly income, all of that.
It's hard in the traditional real estate setting, unless you're willing to build a team. And, there's a lot that goes into it to make really good money. I mean, wealth building money. Not just like enough to pay my bills every year and, send my kid to college, but like retirement,
It's hard. And I'll tell you, some of the best advice I ever got, and this is so true, I've changed it around a little bit now, but the best agents I know, the absolute number one best agents I know are investors, because they're invested in the market. They understand the full game, not the listing game only.
Well, and when you speak that language, you're able to relate and Yeah, I've been there. I had a tenant that did this to me, or this is where I'm looking for deals, you know. I know some local people have told me, well, I'm not going to buy because that makes me in competition with my seller or my buyer. And I just think that's such small-minded mentality.
That competition word gets all over me. I can't stand it. There's so many deals out there, and we're all such different people that we may never even come into contact with the same people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have time for this weekly show. Tune in next week. We're going to have, let's see, we have Lauren Taylor is going to be with us next week talking about.
She's awesome. I've been checking her out. She's awesome.
Yeah, she has some great information for us too. So, all right. And if you have questions or would like more information about Whitney's products, we'll post a link below for you guys. Bye.